we are very happy to be hosting you here and thank you all for your presence. As you all know, the main aim of this conference is to bridge the knowledge divide between the Arctic and the Hindu-Kush Himalayan region by fostering cooperation and mutual understanding among researchers, experts, academicians from both regions. It is imperative that we collaborate to find sustainable solutions to problems of climate change and other environmental threats, and join hands and form networks to build on already generated evidence and generating new evidence from the polar regions, so that we have a good knowledge base in terms of what is happening in both the regions. As I already mentioned, this is of course the first collaboration between the two regions, and we do anticipate this partnership to grow very much in the future. With these opening remarks, I would also like to thank all participants for being here on time. I know it might have been a little difficult regarding finding the venue and getting here on time. Thankfully, today in Nepal it's a public holiday, so the traffic is not that bad. So please do expect maybe tomorrow and day after you might have worse traffic situations. And with this, I would like to welcome, of course, Dr. Prema, Director General of ICIMOD, for his opening remarks, and would like to, of course, thank him for
recording in progress.
Would like to thank him for his guidance and for initiating and steering this first collaboration with, between the two regions.
Good morning, namaste. It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you to ICIMOD. I'm very happy that the idea that we discussed in Tokyo was an album, I think somewhere also here, at the Tokyo Art Circle Japan conference could materialize. Within a short period of time, we could organize this and have you all gathered here. I'm also very happy that we could see so many distinguished resource persons, scientists, professors, and practitioners from around the globe, not just from the two poles, North and South Pole, but also from other regions. I hope that eventually we could also have the South Pole representatives here, having a discussion between the North, South, and the Third Pole. I'm also very happy that our friend from UNESCO, the country representative, could join us, because UNESCO was one of the founding members of ICIMOD. So ICIMOD was founded by the government of Nepal, Switzerland, Germany, and sponsored by UNESCO. So there is a very long historical tie between UNESCO and ICIMOD. At this stage, I would also like to acknowledge the work of one individual, the former President of Iceland, President Grimson, who was very much behind the scene in terms of connecting the Arctic Circle with the Third Pole. So this is a time to acknowledge the vision that he started way back in 2013, when he invited ICIMOD and representatives of its member country to the Arctic Assembly in Reykjavik, which I was also honored or privileged to attend. So, once again, welcome to this interpolar conference, the first of its kind that we could organize together with the University of Nepal. We all know that we are separated by thousands of miles, the Arctic Circle and the Third Pole. But the challenges and the issues are no different. I think we are facing the same geophysical, geoclimatic challenges as well as the socio-economic challenges. The geopolitical challenges are very similar. So there is a lot of things that we can learn from each other, share not only the research findings and experiences, but also experiences beyond science in terms of how we can strengthen regional cooperation. I think Arctic Circle has its own set of geopolitical challenges. It's still having that. And we also have 8 member countries, and we also have similar challenges. So we hope to be able to, learn from you in terms of negotiating through some of these difficult challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just touch briefly on the Hindu-Kush Himalayan region. Now, this region, as we all know, is known as the third pole, because outside of the north and south pole, it has the highest reserve of snow and ice. I think our estimates show that we have around 60,000 cubic kilometers of ice in this region. That is why it is called the third pole. And if I look at it personally, I also see, if you look at a tent, the third pole, the middle pole, actually carries a lot of burden. And this is the case with the Hindu-Kush Himalayan region. It's a bit different from the north and south pole in the sense that this region is heavily populated. So what happens to the mountain regions in the Hindu-Kush Himalaya matters for millions of people living downstream in the river basin. We are talking about some 2 billion people, 1/4 of the global population. So unless we address the challenges that the region is facing, is going to put the lives and livelihoods of close to 2 billion people at risk. The latest IPCC report, I don't need to elaborate, shows that along with the other poles, this region is most vulnerable to global warming and climate change. Already, we are facing the kind of disasters that we have never experienced before. You would have seen or heard on the news about the recent floods in the Himalayan states of India and across the region, the devastating the impacts of climate change, the catastrophic disasters that we have faced in Pakistan and elsewhere last year. More and more, we are experiencing extreme weather events, unpredictable. Things like heat waves, cold waves, snowstorms, rainstorms, cloudburst. All these things are now coming into play. It's no more something that we can talk about 100 years down the line, 50 years down the line. The climate crisis is here. And for this region, it is very, very critical that we try to come together and address these challenges now. We have recently brought out a publication called ICIMOD, the Himalayan Ice, Water, Snow, and Ecosystems report. Now, in this report, we have also shown that the glacier melt is accelerating. In fact, between 2010 and 2020, the melt is 65% faster than what was recorded in the earlier decade. So at this rate, we are going to lose the glacial mass very, very rapidly. And by the end of the century, probably 80% or even more of our glacial mass will disappear. So, more and more, we are going to be challenged with the issue of either having too much water or too little water. The annual precipitation amount may not vary that much, but it's about distribution, it's about the pattern. So we would have long periods of drought, long spells of dry weather, followed by intense rainfall, as we have experienced already. Within a very short period of time, we get buckets of water. And that is the cause of majority of the disasters, the flash floods, and so on. So we are worried about the seasonal distribution of precipitation. Now, if you look at the glacial melt, the contribution from glacial melt to the water flow in the short to medium term will probably increase. But in the long run, it's going to decrease. This unpredictability is going to cause a lot of concern and uncertainty on the lives and livelihood of the people, both living within and downstream from the Inaugural region. ladies and gentlemen, ICIMOD is committed to support our regional member countries. I think everybody knows we have 8 member countries: Afghanistan, Pakistan, China, India, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. We will continue to support them in terms of addressing the impacts of climate change through exchange of learnings, good practices, information, data, capacity building. But I think now we need to go beyond the region. We need to have connectivity between regions so that there is a global effort to save our ice and snow. So on this mission, we are counting on you, the representatives from the Arctic Circle, from the North Pole, to join forces with ICIMOD so that we can take this message, take the agenda of the mountains, the melting ice, the unpredictable weather patterns, the increasing disasters to the agenda of the global discourses on climate change and on biodiversity and on pollution. Finally, I would like to wish you a very successful delegation and a fruitful outcome of this workshop. I hope that outside of this hall, you will also have some time to enjoy the beauty and serenity of Kathmandu. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pema, for providing a background on basically on the Hindu-Kush-Himalayan region, its importance, and the environmental threats and climatic threat it faces. And also, like I mentioned in the start itself, I would also like to thank you for your guidance and of course for steering this collaboration, and of course look forward for our collaboration and your guidance in the future. With this, we have a presentation now, and I would like to welcome Dr. Arun Bhaktasheshta. He is a strategic group lead for reducing climate and environmental risks here at ICIMOD. And Dr. Sheshta has been here with us for a long time in different leadership roles, and has a background in climate change modeling and hydrological modeling.
Thank you, Brother Namaste, good morning. From my side as well, I would like to very much warmly welcome all of you to this event. Definitely a great opportunity to interact, share, learn from each other. What I'm going to present is basically taking forward what our DG had just mentioned quite eloquently, and probably presenting in a more pictorial, graphical manner, and then also providing a little bit of evidence, to back some of those statements. The purpose is to give an overview of what's happening here. And since this is interpolar conference, I think we have a lot to learn from each other, and probably giving a synopsis of what's happening here. I think my purpose is to lay out the challenges and then kind of see how we can collectively work on it. So what I'm going to present is, as mentioned, a synoptic view of the Hindu-Kush-Himalaya, which is, has been very nicely laid out by Dr. Pema, is this region under stress. Thank you. So this is basically our region. What you see here is a little bit of kind of public view of the Hindu-Kush-Himalayan region. This is east and this is west. Let's say Afghanistan, Pakistan. The main Himalayan are Bhutan, Bangladesh, and the Tibetan Plateau. Right? This is the region where we are right now. What is important about this region is that this region is a global asset for food, energy, water, carbon, agriculture, and biodiversity. From biophysical angle, this is a monsoon-dominated region. There are a lot of monsoons, but probably in true sense, the monsoon here is really the monsoon with almost 180 degrees of reversal of seasonal atmospheric circulation, which is a big moisture source, depending where you are, the summer monsoon or westerlies, source of moisture, source of frozen form of water, supporting glacial snowfield and permafrost, and also source of many rivers flowing from this region. That's why this region is also called the third pole, and I guess that's why we are similar with the Arctic, and it's also called the water tower of Southeast because of the water coming out of it. Now, we are not alone in this business. This is the circulation system. While we are monsoon-dominated area, but monsoon, as we know, is linked with many large-scale phenomena. Some of them are physically known, some of them we call teleconnections, like the ENSO, North Atlantic Oscillation, which you are from Arctic more familiar with, Indian Dipole, Mid-Julian Oscillation, and Arctic Oscillation. This also tells us that while we are physically quite apart, in terms of climate, there are some connections, right? So it's always good to get connected in person and learn from each other, right? Now, talking about the challenges, the crisis, we all know the planet is going through what we call the triple planetary crisis, which is actually the climate, of course, climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution in various forms. It could be air pollution, it could be water pollution, it could be soil pollution, right? So that is true globally, but then if you look at Hindukush Himalaya, this region is also going through almost everything that we call triple planetary crisis. For example, rapid warming. I guess that's something which the Highwise report also kind of indicated that in the last decades, this region has warmed at a rate of about 0.28 degrees per decade, right? In HK's assessment, it was 0.2 degrees. Of course, the period and data sets were different, but it indicates that we are warming at a high rate. Probably not as high as in the Arctic, but it is quite significant. And the sensitivity, if you look at the sensitivity, is quite important. Precipitation extremes are there. Cryosphere decline, I think we'll talk about a little bit more, and in this meeting also there will be a lot of discussion about cryosphere change. Changing hydrological regime and extreme is one important thing, because then it actually starts interacting with people and community, right? Water is very important. But then things get a little bit tricky when it comes to what happens to the water resources. And it is very much time, scale, and location dependent. Somewhere it is going to be less, somewhere it is going to be more. But then, of course, on top of that, we know that extremes are definitely increasing and are likely to increase. The other part is biodiversity loss. Not going into too much detail, this is a very important, challenge we are facing, and it is projected that in the biodiversity hotspot in Hindukush Himalaya, around 87% loss will be experienced by the end of the century. And pollution is another important part. All sort of pollution. We are in a monsoon. That's why it looks relatively okay, the atmosphere. But if you come in spring, it will be really, really very bad air quality condition there. So these are some of the things happening in terms of challenges. And also, the elevation dependent warming is very strong here. Higher elevation areas are warming much faster than lower elevation. Now, in terms of cryosphere change, spending a little bit more time, what we know, and this is coming from the Highwise report, is that in 1.5 degree world, the HKs will lose around 30 to 50% of volume by the end of the century, right? And then if you go by more extreme scenarios, it will be even more extreme in terms of cryosphere change, which means, and the extreme seems more likely scenarios, right? You and I understand it, it could be from 55 to 75% loss of ice volume. What does it mean? means the slide has stopped. Okay, no, it has not. What does it mean? This is a very simple kind of representation of what those changes would mean in terms of water resources and livelihood. Climate change, if we kind of put everything together in a bucket, what it means is it could mean too warm and less snow, right? That would mean rapid melting of glaciers, snow, and permafrost. And that in turn would mean that there would be water scarcity, which is too little water. But also, if less rainfall is there, that would also mean water scarcity. But then rapid melting of glacier would also mean formation of glacial lakes, and some of them would burst out in form of glacial lake outburst flood. So that is then too much water. But then if we have too much rainfall also, it would be too much water. But then reminding you that climate change is not just the average change, but it's also extreme. So too much, too little water because of precipitation change as well as cryosphere change is something which is happening and is likely to happen, right? And then what it means, it will impact all the sectors which are relying on water resources. Water resources sector itself, hazard, energy, agriculture, biodiversity, tourism, culture, spirituality, and at the end, it will impact the whole livelihood and well-being of the people, right? So that's from more biophysical angle, but that's not all. The socio-economic context is also very important. We are living in a very vulnerable region, right? There are many different indicators for that, but one simple one, income-based, poverty indicator. If we take that, there is some improvement in this area, but if you look at mountain-specific areas, I think the poverty is much more prevalent compared to plains. The multidimensional poverty index ranges from 5, which is for China, but then other countries are up to 50%. Migration is massive. In Nepal, it is kind of like 5% meal, which is quite big, and gender and social inclusion situation is also quite poor in this region. So these are some of the indicators which, if you overlap with the biophysical stress, I think the vulnerability can easily be understood. And climate extremes are increasing, as I said. This is just an example from our neighboring river basin, Gotekeshi. This is a scenario of a hydropower dam. Before a block happened, a very small transmounted block from glacial lake outburst from Tibet. And this is the scenario after the block had hit that, right? So this is a very small event, but then there are several large lakes, many of them transboundary, and you can imagine what would be the situation. Talking about extremes, some analysis we have done shows that the extremes definitely are likely to increase in the future. 50-year return period flow in average is projected to double by the end of the century, which is also very concerning, meaning there will be more stronger and intensive and frequent floods. So what can we do? There are a lot of challenges, but and we need to understand those challenges more. But then definitely we can do something already, right? When it comes to doing something, I guess I would prefer to do it in terms of scale, right? Look at the scale issues first. So local scale, there are a lot of good examples of solutions at local scale, like community-based flood early warning system, hydro dam pump from irrigation, small solar irrigation system. But then if you go to a slightly larger scale, then it has to be looked at from a different angle, probably flood forecasting and early warning system at different scale and outlooks, climate services, decision support system, and some infrastructural intervention could actually have to be done. And then there is also this transboundary dimension. So there, at a regional scale, transboundary information sharing is very important, and transboundary early warning system, having regional network and global network like this one, and alliances, right? I think these are some of the things which we can already do, and many of those things are already happening. So to conclude, the topography, the biophysical aspect, the monsoon, but then overlying on that socio-economic context means that Hindu-Kush Himalayan region very sensitive to climate change. Climate is already changing, but it is projected to change more severely in the future, with extremes likely to increase. So, understanding those nuances, the details, is very important. But then, from what we already know, there is a lot we can do. Some of the examples I have narrated. So, immediate actions are needed to respond to climate-related challenges, which means there are 3 I's: implementation, innovation, and investment. These are the 3 I's which we really need to focus on. And I think, again, repeating myself, what we are going to discuss will bring a little bit more detail to all those aspects: the cryosphere, climate, water, solutions, technology, science. And I think we will be able to move a step forward, at least in terms of learning from each other and trying to do very important step, which is taking action. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Arun, for providing us an overview of course, the Hindu-Kush Himalayan region, the triple climate threat that is facing, and of course, some of the solutions that we at ICIMOD with our partners in the region member countries are undertaking to address these risks. And I would also like to mention, of course, I would like to thank Arunji. I mean, he's from the ICIMOD side. He has been the lead of the organizing team and provided technical guidance to the team in organizing this conference. And before I move ahead, I would also like to make a small announcement. You might realize that we don't have printed copies of the agenda, so in case you require the agenda, there are QR codes pasted on the wall, so you could kindly scan and get an online version of the agenda. Thank you. With this, we'll move forward. I would like to invite Professor Kamrul Hussain for his opening remarks. Dr. Hussain is the director of the Northern Institute of Environment and Monetary Law